Good evening, brothers and sisters.
Good evening.
Before I speak and share my journey, I just want to say that the divinity in me honors the divinity in each one of you. Put on my glasses here. I stand here representing mothers, not only in the United States, but globally. I'm holding space. Before I share this with you, I want you each to know that, well, I actually have a favor to ask of each one of you. So I'm going to take off my glasses because I can see with them without. Those of you who are mothers in here, can you just raise your hand? I'm going to take you this exercise for a reason. Okay? I honor you. Fathers, please. Sisters, siblings, there'd be a lot of us. Brothers. Okay. Aunts, nieces, uncles, we'll just lump that all into it. I happen to be a grandmother of 8 beautiful children. Now I'm going to say, have you all heard of my daughter, India Kager? All right, so I'm not sure how many of you all are familiar with what happened to my daughter, but I'm just going to give you a brief overview. And I'm going to ask you just to send your energy so that I can contain as I speak, because every day for me is an uphill climb. My daughter, India, 27 years young, had traveled to Virginia Beach with the father of her son, Roman Kager. The father's name was Angelo Perry. He had driven up here to Maryland to meet India, the baby, because he was not until a couple of days before they were murdered, a part of the baby's life. As they were traveling down to Virginia Beach, the Virginia Beach Police SWAT team, using the highly militarized gear, and I'll go into detail about that because I've learned a lot since then, were pinging Angelo Perry's phone, tracking his cell phone based on what they claim, and we know the narrative, all right, that they had received a tip from a confidential informant that he was on his way to commit a crime. Now, India and Angelo were en route down there to introduce Roman, because Evan is here, my other grandson, India's baby, is here. But I haven't had the headphones on for a reason. I want to re-traumatize him because he is familiar, but nonetheless, I want him in that space. They watched my daughter, India, carrying Roman's car seat in and out of the car as they went from house to house introducing Roman at 4 months old to Angelo's family who resided in Virginia Beach. When I say they, brothers and sisters, I'm referring to a trained, highly militarized, planned operation consisting of 16 white men on the SWAT team, Virginia Beach Police. I have to emphasize trained because this was not a 911 incident where there was a call or exigent circumstances that existed while they had them assembled. But I want you all just to hold in your mind that this was because this was a black man. And that they did not see India or Angelo as humans. Neither one of them. They watched my daughter as she went in from house to house carrying Roman's car seat. They watched her go back in her car. They waited until India drove into a 7-Eleven parking lot. And as she was parking her car, using flashbang grenades, they threw flashbang grenades at my daughter's car while they ambushed her vehicle simultaneously. Do you all know what a flashbang grenade does? It renders one temporarily, you cannot see nor hear. No doubt, where did they get those weapons from? As they were ambushing my daughter's car, 4 SWAT officers jumped outside of the unmarked van, and then they commenced to firing over 51, not 30, I thought it was 30, 51 high-powered rifles, bullets into my daughter's car, fully cognizant that there was a baby and an innocent woman in the car. India and Mr. Perry were attacked on the very soil here that we call the United States of America, where life is not valued. So the reason why I asked you all to raise your hands and attest to your familial relationships in your space was, what would you do if it were you? Mm-hmm. What would you do if it were one of your loved ones? Mm-hmm. And police saw your loved one and cared not one iota for the value of their lives because they did not see them as worthy and deserving to live. That is the most unfortunate power, if you want to call it that, pseudo-power, that has been given to racist, white supremacist-led police forces across the nation. So I'm going to say a couple of other things here. It was not until India's wrongful death trial, because you all do know, and as you read the news, I am familiar with every mother you can imagine. Personally, Mike Brown. Leslie McSpadden is his mother, a beautiful sister. Tamir Rice. And I'm naming the names that are high profile. I stand with them, but I also stand with those who do not get the so-called media coverage as well. Because we live lives fraught with unspeakable trauma every single day. Tamir, Mike Brown, Eric Garner, choked by police. Corinne Gaines, shot dead with her baby, her son, whom I'm very close with. Rhonda just spent time with her. I want you all to know that I'm able to speak now and see your faces, but each one of you have a target on your forehead as well. Oh, yeah. If you are black, here in these states, you are not seen as a human being. So I speak from the heart. I walk with an amputated heart every day. There is no respite from the tears, the torrential tears, the pain that has wrenched our hearts. There is none. And then to make matters even worse, and they're exacerbated by people who call themselves supporters, when they really are not. They just are glad that they're not in your shoes. And choose not to do much to make sure that they never really are in your shoes. Let me just tell it. My daughter, India, life was snuffed out of her. 16 men. And not one of those murderers, I like to call them Neanderthals, were held criminally responsible. Not one. This is perpetuated every single day, every single year. We hear more and more. And we cry. Cries that are unheard. We protest in collective temper tantrums. But they still choose not to bring about change, because the sister spoke about the Congregational Black Caucus. I want you all to know, I reached out to NAACP. I reached out to, and Brother John knows this, Al Sharpton. Actually, I was part of him. I can name these so-called leaders who are nothing but vultures. That's right. They have done nothing. Every single one of my sisters, and myself, my beautiful daughter, India Kager, their lives were stolen under the Obama administration. Yet, he never once mentioned the lives of any of our children who've been murdered by police, not once. Right. The closest he got to it was saying that Trayvon Martin, who incidentally was not killed by police, could have been his son. Right. So that's placative and empty. And it does nothing to quell the constant onslaught and terror that is enacted by them. So I live with PTSD every day. Police terrorism, stress disorder. Wow. Every day. And that beautiful little boy right there, I just need you all to know that's Evan. That's India's baby. He was 4 years old at the time. His mother was stolen. His 4-year-old brother now, Roman, is permanently disabled. Permanently. So what are we going to do for the next generation that's coming up? That's the question. So you all who are fathers, mothers, grandfathers, aunts, uncles, what do you say to your child? What would you say when they grow up and they're aware and cognizant? Why did the police kill my mommy? I think about families overseas who have to go to bomb shelters. Every single continent the colonizers have been, they've done nothing but wreak havoc and destroy lives.
That's right.
So that is the default state of people with that mentality, not one of peace. They certainly don't stand for Black Alliance of Peace. They don't stand for peace. The default state of people who carry that is to murder and kill.
That's right.
And we have to pick up the shards somehow and piece our lives back together and deal with the disingenuous. People used to ask, Gina, are you okay? I stopped saying that. I used to say that to help the other people feel, okay, because when you're faced with your own mortality and you're faced with grief, there's this palpable, you can feel it. People just don't know what to say. They don't know what to say. You can't pray this away.
No, you can't.
You can't scream it away. You can't cry it away. This is centuries old.
Indeed.
Centuries. I think of my ancestor mothers as their children were taken from their arms and stolen.
That's right.
On this blood-soaked land here and globally.
Speak it.
Globally. So whenever I share and people ask, how are you doing? I never say I'm okay. We will never be okay. This is not something that time heals. If that were the case, would we be in a better position than we are now? Hasn't there been enough time? Hasn't there been enough? When Dr. King and his so-called civil rights leaders, if you want to call them civil rights leaders, we have no choice but to ascend until we, if we can, overcome. No choice. I'll never be okay. It's disingenuous to say that we will be. But I am standing here a warrior.
Uh-oh.
So let me shift gears. When I shift a warrior, you all have to imagine, talk about Mondays, imagine every day. Where before you are fully awake, you're in a lucid state of sleep, and then it all comes flooding back. My daughter, my son has been murdered. And that rage, where people say, you've got to forgive. Let me tell you all, I will never forgive. That has been preached by pulpits to keep people in a place of docility.
That's right.
So they do not rise up and truly fight. Because it is fear that drives them.
That's right.
I listened to Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, Dr. Neely Fuller, Dr. Amos Wilson. I'm a student of history. And India was as well, as soft-spoken as she was, very wise. The next generation, what are we really going to do? Are we going to just stand up here and talk about it so that we can have a photo op?
Nope.
They invited me to speak with other mothers. And let me tell you something, I was the one who let them know I would never, ever be seen on the same stage with Hillary Clinton.
Hello, and
we are not to prostitute the murder of our children.
That's right. That's right.
That's exactly what they wanted. But there's a sickness in our people. Let me address that real quick. I have seen the worst in our own people, even in the face of having our children murdered. Because the thinking and the frequency and the thought is, oh, I'm in the newspaper now.
Oh my God.
That's a sickness.
Sickness.
It's beyond a travesty. There's no words that even can articulate that pain. But when I see people, and I've been amongst some others, I choose to refrain from that. I lift them in a different way because I understand where they're coming from. I don't stand here perfect, never have been, don't aspire to be. But I'm not one who's going to lay down and give up. And I join my lock arms, and we do this in honor of every single one of our children who have been murdered at the hands of police. And I will also say at the hands of one another, community violence as well. Until we are black and proud and have a true alliance with one another, we will never have that peace that we so desire and we so need. But it does start here. Because everyone in this room, I would have to say, you do not espouse the thoughts of murdering people. We want to be that change. And that's what King spoke of. No compromise.
No retreat.
No retreat. No compromise. Let us not compromise in our actions. But before we can even do that, let's not be compromising in our thoughts. I'm going to share one other thing with you all. It is a harsh reality that we are constantly looked as black people. I'm proud. I love my melanated skin. I celebrate it. But we're constantly looked upon, constantly, by the oppressors. They see us, but they choose for us to remain invisible. Shocked, the shock value of another person murdered by police. The discomfort of what do you say? What do you do? Oh God, what do I do if it were me? They use flashbang grenades. And not one officer from every person that you all have heard of chose to make or take life-saving measures to protect the citizens of the United States, if they want to call them that. Innocent people, not one. We're doing it overseas as well. We have no business trying to colonize and fight for and murdering children, disrupting families. We have no business, but we're there. I'm angry, but my rage propels me forward. I'm going to wait when it shuts down. Okay. I have a couple of things I did want to say with you all, and I'm just speaking out of my heart. That those tears will never, ever cease. Ever. India's last action was trying to protect the life of her baby, my grandson. And we know the narrative that they always speak. They vilify the black man, and they try to sully the names. And none of them, have you all ever heard a police officer, a murderer, a mercenary say they were wrong? Have we yet heard our government say they were wrong?
No.
Let's not be that one. I certainly am not. I'm a little subdued right now. But there are times when I just scream in rage. Because it's beyond frustrating when you have people tiptoeing around. I walk on glass shards, forget eggshells, glass shards and burning hot coals, sulfuric acid every day. Have to rebuild our lives every day. They're doing it overseas as well. Brother Netfa, what country was that you mentioned? There was a country that, pardon? No. Where they're
6 million.
Congo, 6 million.
6 million?
Egypt.
Everywhere. So I honor the kings and queens. And I protect, and I speak and protect. The only way I've even been able to come this far was by opening space to my ancestors, imagining what did they go through. Determined to make a difference in the life of my grandchildren, but those who are around me as well. Determined. And that's what we must do, spread the word for the Black Alliance of Peace. Black Alliance for Peace. but it begins here. We know that. I'm not going to stand here and regurgitate what you don't know. But for every bullet that I counted, I stopped counting India's bullets at number 8. Including the one she took to her head. 27 years young. And I see your faces, you all look. I didn't mean to bring you in that space, but I'm going to ask you to hold space. And we're going to raise that vibration and that frequency where we go out of here, hearts aflame.
Hearts aflame.
Where we're determined, absolutely, to defeat the war against Africans, black people in the United States and abroad.
Okay.
Because every last one of those murdering officers are just that. Tools of the government to
You
keep
got that
us
right. Yep.
underhand and foot. I was going to sing a song for you all, but I didn't. Because I am a vocalist. I lost my song for a while. My daughter played 5 instruments in here. But I will close by saying this. There's so many notes here. We must ascend in our minds and in our hearts until we do what Dr. King wanted us to do, and that is overcome. And we have to know what it is we must overcome. But do it with the authenticity of his spirit, and do it with the determination that's within each one of us, those here, and then also the resolution knowing that we have to create a better space and world for the next generation.
Absolutely.
I thank you for your time.